Pay the transportation. Pay the
Okay, 6:31 on July 8th. I'd like to call the meeting of the Town Pool Project Building Committee to order. Can we stand for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge of allegiance.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, as far as the roll call goes, Jim, everyone's here except Carol, and Carol is excused.
That's
Excuse me.
attendance.
Oh, okay, yes, everyone's here, so, that would be me. Oh, Tim
Carol's
is,
not,
yeah, Carol's not here, but Tim isn't on here officially yet, is he?
not until tomorrow.
Right, so he's not included as absent, so the only one that's missing is Carol, and she's excused. Okay, public participation?
So we do have one person online and then a few people here, so I don't know if we want to start online or in person.
Well, let's take turns, let's start here first.
Me first?
Yep, go ahead.
Don Woods, 82 Ivy Lane. I just wanted to say to you guys, we finally are at a point where this project is likely to move forward. And unfortunately, there's a fairly significantly tight timetable to move this project. I would like you guys to move as expeditiously as possible, but yet be transparent as possible. This project has been vetted over and over again. There's no hidden facts on this. It's a shovel-ready project, ready to go. The only thing that isn't is the addition of the new splash pad at Churchill. So all I can say is I appreciate your work. Move the project forward and let's get this to the council. Thank you.
Okay, and who's waiting online? Hello?
So the Sally. So Sally, if you want to participate, you may talk. Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand, my bad.
Oh, no, that's fine.
It's
I just-
public
I just
participation
didn't know
if you wanna
wanted
talk.
Participate. If not, that's, we'll allow.
No, I'm just listening.
Okay,
Okay.
no problem.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Go ahead.
Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I did listen to the last meeting and I'm just as anxious for you to go forward with this as you are. I'm just a little confused as to what you're going forward with. Are you going forward with the plan that was presented to the town council and never got approved? Or is it going to be the pool and the splash pad with no other? I guess there was some courts, some pickleball courts and other things that were proposed, so I'm not quite sure. If you could just clarify what exactly the plan is, I would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. You want to turn?
Sure,
Okay, go ahead.
Bill McCarthy, 206 Churchill Drive. I agree with Rose and Mr. Woods that this is a good project to go forward. I guess I'm just curious as whether or not we've come up with a dollar. The original was $12 million 4 years ago now, and with a 5% increase every year. And I was just wondering if we had decided on how much we're going to be looking for, and then how the council's planning on taking off next month. And I was just wondering what we have to do to present that to the council, whether that can happen this month or if we have to wait until September.
Okay. Okay,
One more, Eileen.
one more,
Oh, no, okay, I'm sorry.
okay,
Nothing yet.
All right.
okay,
I just didn't want to miss anybody.
okay. Anybody else online here? No, we're good? moving on, who just came in?
Nobody else online.
All right, beautiful. Okay, as far as old business, I think we fully discussed the history of the pools. And as far as future recommendations to the town council, I think we reviewed most of the concerns that, came up on the 6:25 meeting of the council, and we had, I think, I'm sorry, my sugar's out of whack and my watch is gonna go bonkers all meeting. I think we came up with some good answers that should, they are answers to the best of our ability, as of now. To review, our plan is to look at the whole park system, parking, OFI, parallel parking. Parking is really not part of our charge. Our charge is the pool. So parking is the parking authority, and that's gonna have to be in phase 2. Unobstructed view of the pond, that is agreed upon. We would be getting rid of the bathhouse. And there was some concern about taking down the flushing stand, but we believed it had served a purpose. We've looked at this project. Our intent is not just to rubber stamp it, but to look at it. We can't rush the referendum. We missed that with the power outage, so it's gonna have to be a 2 ballot election in the fall. And that we do plan on coming up with a plan for both pools, one which would be to go forward with the mill pond plan, and the other would be to study over the next few years what happens with the attendance at Churchill and what things would look like. Open space, the footprint of the new pool versus the old. Carol had asked that someone come with an overlay of old versus the new, so we could look at that, ask questions. That goes without saying. The location, I think we were all in agreement that the best place is where we want it right now, just due to the studies that have been done. Needs versus want. Make sure that both the council and the public are in the loop. I plan to go to the council meeting tomorrow with these notes. Be sure to look at the work that was done in the past. That goes without saying. Do not create a Disneyland, goes without saying. So that's what we went over last time. Mike Fortuna is with us tonight, but he can only stay for a short while. So if anybody had questions for Mike before he has to leave, I think we have to include that in future recommendations to the town council. That would include any questions we had for Mike. So does anybody have anything moving forward? Questions for Mike?
I can start it, Madam Chair. It's okay.
Go ahead.
Mike, we talked today about parallel parking and that some people thought that it wasn't possible. However, I think you've noticed that with a bike lane and the grant that's coming through, if we bumped into the park a little bit, parallel parking is probably okay. And I think I got that from a police officer also in charge of traffic. So if you had a couple thoughts on that, I wanted to let them hear that.
Yeah, I don't know the town's ordinances specifically, but in most communities, there's sort of a pretty simple math equation that they use for travel lane, bike lane, parallel parking, and sidewalk. And as long as you meet those requirements, then you can fit it all in between the yellow line and the edge of the sidewalk. So unless something's different in Newington than in a lot of other communities, you can do the bike lane with the parallel parking, which you can't do almost anywhere anymore, is the nose in parking.
Right, that's what the chief told. Yeah.
Because then the cyclists and pedestrians they can't see the car as opposed to parallel parking. So
safer.
Yeah, it's safer, and I think we've done the math, and you'd have to cheat into the park, 4 or 5 feet to make that all work. But that's a whole design process with the parking authority and public works to make sure it's all done appropriately and safely.
Okay, one other thing, we're later in the meeting when you're gone, we're gonna present some ideas of vortex splash pads so the committee can kind of get a feel for it. In there, we didn't include UV filtration. And we also have a whole variety of, in case, I believe this project may be under prevailing wages. So there's a whole bunch of flexibility up to 35% maybe on the prevailing wages. But could you explain a little bit about UV and how much it would cost additionally? Because the salesman from Vortex from Canada didn't know what that really was.
Yeah, UV is ultraviolet light, and what it does is it's basically another sanitation device on your pool water. So on your splash pad water. So what happens is splash pads, all that water sits in a subterranean vault. It never gets any UV from the sunlight. So the potential for bacteria growth is higher than in an open body of water like the swimming pool. So a lot of states are making it a requirement now on splash pads that holding vault water, if you're recirculating it, runs through a UV to clean the water. Connecticut doesn't have that requirement yet, but most states do. The national codes now do. So I would suggest we would recommend you put one in, but if you don't, I would at least pipe for it and wire for it because I got to believe at some point the health code in Connecticut is going to catch up with the rest of the country and require it. So it's about a $40,000 item plus some electrical wiring. So maybe 50,000 installed. But it just creates safer, cleaner water coming out of the nozzles.
Yeah, I'm a full proponent of that, certainly. And also, lastly, for me, can you just explain the difference in prices? There's some variety based on whatever they pick for splash pad toys or features, that depending on if it's a 1-inch pipe or a 2-inch pipe, you have to calculate the amount of gallons that are going to be used by the splash pad, and then calculated that to the underground 2,000 gallon, 2,500 gallon holding tank underneath. Could you explain that just a little more?
I looked quickly at the 5 options that Vortex sent through, and they all vary in flow. But basically what happens is you can imagine you've got a vault full of water. You turn on all your spray features, all that water leaves the vault and goes to the features. And then it takes some time for it to find its way back to the vault. So you can't size your vault so say you've got 1,000 gallons per minute going through your spray features. You can't size your vault for 1,000 gallons a minute or you'll run it dry until that water finds its way back. So you size it for about 2.5 times the flow rate, and that gives it time to make sure that your pumps are always seeing water. The tanks themselves are, the incremental cost for larger tanks is typically not that expensive. You know, if you go from a 2,000 to a 4,000, it might add a few $1,000s to the project, which is less than burning up your pump once. So you don't want to undersize your tanks. But it's all a direct proportion to the amount of flow. So there's a variety that Vortex showed in their options. You know, and some features are very low flow, like the ground sprays and some of the mist type features, and some have a lot of flow. And so you just take the total flow, and then it's just a math exercise at that point.
I have to use my Newington High School math?
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
the math you said you'd never use, you actually have to use.
Thank you. That's all I got. Thanks.
Okay, AJ, you have questions?
Yeah, I know we're in like we're on the design phase, so everything that we have on paper is speculative, but what are your thoughts? I know I was talking to the council yesterday, and a big issue is the possibility of the view being blocked with the location of where we have the house right now. So I just wanted to field if it's probable that if we were to move the building adjacent to the tree line where the softball field is located here, and that way the view from the road wouldn't be so obscured. I just wanted to get your thoughts on if that's possible, if it makes sense, if it's doable.
where the softball field is? The
Yeah,
That's baseball, you mean?
baseball, yeah.
baseball. Okay, sorry. Yeah, you could move it up that direction. I would say that that whole swath of land parallel to Garfield is in play. We located it where we located it because at no point does that bathhouse obscure your view of the park from the road because of the bend in the road. So I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look at those two videos that I sent up with the dashboard cam. And so what happens is the natural bend in the road takes your view away from the park as you come around. So from either direction, tucking the building in where we tucked it in is actually the least obstructive of all the options along Garfield Street. So we've modeled all of that to make sure that we've sort of optimized the views from outside the park as well as from inside the park looking out.
All right, cool. Thank you. I don't know if it's really for Mike versus for the actual committee. Let me see. Give me
Actually,
one
remember you told me to.
second.
No, while you're looking,
Yeah, we should be fine. Yeah.
I have a question for Mike. Mike, is there a place where I could go see or we could go see a 4,000 square foot, splash pad?
Yeah.
I mean, I went to see the one in New Britain and sorry, Bill, but I wasn't impressed. That's kind of
Yeah,
boring.
Chesley Park in New Britain is
Yeah.
probably around 4,000.
Yeah, other than that, that just, I don't know, maybe because it was empty and it wasn't really, all hopping with kids with a lot of things going on, even though it was 100 degrees out. I just was looking for something else that I could look at besides that. That one was, I don't know, there just wasn't a lot going on, so it was not impressive to look at. The other ones I've seen have been about half the size of that, and they had a million kids going on, so they looked really cool, and the features were a little zippier, more in color, and a lot going on, a lot of kids enjoying themselves, so it left a better impression in my head. Had that been full of kids, probably would have been fine, but it wasn't, so I was just wondering where else had something that was that big.
Yeah, I'll go through our files and send you a list of ones we've
I
done.
don't want to
but
go to Fairfield.
No, no, we've done Colt Park and Keeney Park and Hartford have pretty big ones. So Hartford's got 14 splash pads across the city, but the ones that are attached to the swimming pools at Colt and Keeney
Yeah,
are pretty big. I can't recall exactly how big they are, but they're pretty big. And then West Hartford's got several across the city. They're generally a little smaller.
Smaller,
more
yeah.
neighborhood.
I went
How about
to,
New Haven on the beach there that Christie built?
Yep.
That might
That's
be,
a big one.
yeah, that's spread
That's
out.
That's the biggest one in the state.
Is it really?
Yeah. Oh, they claim it is. I don't know. I haven't. Yeah, Seaside. I'll put a list together. Most of the splash pads, most of the communities don't have central splash pads. They spread them out all through the neighborhoods.
right,
So they tend to be a little smaller.
those are because they're in a city?
Well, it's just different communities run their camps differently. So here you've got a high concentration of kids at the camps, whereas other communities spread their camps out over 5 or 6 parks.
We call it centralization versus decentralized summer camps.
Yeah.
So West Hartford would be like if we put a splash pad at Beechwood, in Beacon Park, in Candlewick, those would be neighborhood parks. That's what people do in West, that's what they do in West Hartford.
Okay. That was my question there.
I remember my question. So we have the rough figures of 12 million for the project as a whole. Mike, does that include the cost to fill in the existing footprint for the pool?
Phase one as proposed, and again, everything's up for discussion, but phase one as proposed is the new pool building and splash pad, and then once that's up and running, demo the old pool and bathhouse. and infill that area. It does not include building an amphitheater, just, basically turning it into a grass field at this point.
Gotcha. Do you, like, just based off of your expertise, do you have like a rough guess on how much that would cost?
It's in the estimate.
In the budget.
Is it?
Yeah, line item.
there's a budget line item.
Yeah, I don't recall off the top of my head, but
No, I'm looking at it right now.
Gonna guess, my memory is somewhere around 225,000, something like that, to demolish the building.
It's 2022.
Yeah,
So you cut that 5% at least maybe.
thank you.
The last figure that I had for phase one of the project was $10,687.
10 million, maybe.
10 million, sorry. Look at that decimal point to stop. $10,687,302, which did not include a splash pad for Churchill. And that was dated November of 2023. So I assume that we would have to add at least 5% to that. And we would have to add another $1 million for a splash pad for Churchill. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, I think that November of 23 estimate had an escalation on it already,
It did.
pushing it out.
Or-
So you're pushing it out a little bit, but maybe not a full 5%. But yes, you'd have to escalate that number, and then add Churchill
So, and that would be about $1 million? Is that what you're guessing?
for Churchill.
Yeah.
I
And
think,
you just
know,
opened
it-
up two bids, right? So we have current prices.
Yeah, that was coupled with a swimming pool, so we'd have to, go through and extract the splash pad number out of it.
That would, another bids for someplace else? Is that what you're talking
Two
about?
different towns.
Yeah,
And that's for how big of a splash pad at Churchill?
this one I'm talking about is in Trumbull, and it's 3,800 square feet, I believe.
Okay,
It's
so,
not built yet, so you can't visit it yet.
yeah, I got it. So that's gonna be plus or minus $1 million in there. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, I'm good. And in that 2023, phase one costs. What's the $251,000 field sports rework?
That's the removal of the baseball field and then regrading that whole area for multi-purpose fields.
Okay. I guess I have a question about why is that part of the pool? Because is that really a multi-purpose field right now? No.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, we have
Oh, because it's for kickball.
soccer, frisbee.
Gotcha. Okay. And it's all lined for that and everything? Wow.
Yeah, the alignment.
Okay.
So part of the field numbers, the sort of civil engineering numbers, are to get some drainage in there, so it's not quite as mucky.
Yeah, surface draining, right? We want to try to pitch the water like we do a baseball field.
Yeah.
Get it off.
crown it and
Yeah.
then try and pick up the runoff in some pipe system where we can.
James has his hand up. Go ahead, James.
Thanks. Yeah. On that whole thing with the drainage too, this might be a question more for Bill. I know you did a video with that grading tool that you recently got that kind of goes around on the softball fields. Is that something that could be used for that?
Not in the, that's a small machine. I think what Mike's talking about is a big grader to come in and give us a sculptured property. We would use that after the fact when we're treating. I'm assuming Mike's gonna leave me with seed and fertilization and some herbicides. And then after that, our guys would take over from there. But this would take a pretty big grader machine that would be used when they dug the hole for the pool too. So it's kind of
Okay. It's a
all
bigger
in
machine.
one- It's a one big project because that area is gonna get beat up pretty hard by construction.
Okay. And a couple other questions. So in Churchill, I know we talked about, potentially keeping the pool for a period of time and then moving in the future to understand, what we want to do with that. But if we look at the numbers of, taking down the bathhouse and the pool for Mill Pond, would it be similar numbers if we did that at Churchill as well? If we remove the pool and the bathhouse?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, your bathhouse at Churchill is 2-story built into a hillside. The pool's much larger. So I think Churchill demo might cost a little more than Mill.
It's a bigger pool too for
Yeah.
if you were demoing the pool. So, and it's got steel girders, Jim, underneath holding the building up. So I'm not
Yeah.
positive. I don't really know the answer to that exactly, but I'm not sure I would jump to that conclusion yet because the basement it's used for storage now in bathrooms. At a later date, you may consider the first floor or the underground part or near the softball field, whatever the best way to describe it, might be helpful to you for some reason.
Okay.
I'm not
Well,
sure what you're thinking in your head, but for me, I'm always looking for storage at the parks.
Yeah, I was just thinking I know we're kind of tasked to look at Mill and Churchill, right? And
Right.
Churchill, I don't know, coming out of the last meeting, I'm not sure I was fully understanding the plan or comfortable with it maybe. So that's why I was just thinking of other options. So if one of the options is get rid of the pool there and just have a splash pad, what would that cost us to do that? And then I guess the second, oh, good.
That would not be my recommendation. We've put so much money into it. I think we would try to keep that pool running as long as we possibly could until this is going to be several years out. I think you try to keep it bubble gum and crack filling and painting and all that to try to keep it going as long as you possibly could until it deteriorated so bad that it fell apart and it was unsafe.
Well, yeah, so that kind of goes into my second question. So if we want to keep that pool longer than kind of bubble gumming it and doing that, what would need to go into that pool to make it more sustainable long term?
It'd be millions of dollars. It wouldn't be even feasible. It's no engineering firm out of the 4 said to do that. It's the drainage, the underground piping, everything is so old and deplorable that it's not good. It's just not a good thing.
So you would have to basically get rid of it all and then restart from scratch if you were to make another
The
pool.
other reality of that pool is that its configuration is not conducive to modern programming.
Yeah.
I know long course swimming for those who are competitive swimmers is really hard to find in Connecticut. So having that pool has some benefit for a few, but for the community as a whole, it's not a very user-friendly pool. And you've got 50 meters, but only about half of that is actually usable for recreational programming. So, I think if you're going to spend millions of dollars out there on aquatic programming, you'd probably take that out of the ground and start fresh or drop something inside of it and backfill it. I'm not sure that if you had a clean slate, you wouldn't go out there and build a 50-meter, 60-foot wide pool. I wouldn't think.
We have a big team that practices there every morning. That's and they love it, and it's generally a good attraction. I was talking to one of the coaches who told me that when they go to another facility, they have to pay, I don't know, a $10 or $15 entry fee, and then $10 for every event they swim. So it costs them like $60 or $70 to go to a meet. So it's expensive. And I would think that if we had a facility like that here, we could make some money. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how it works. It would be interesting because it's always been an attraction because like you said, there's not many 50-meter pools around. And, this is one of only a few. Otherwise it's Wesleyan, and then you gotta swim inside and it sucks. You know?
Yeah, I mean, Pope Park in Hartford is the closest one, and then Cheshire. But the thing is that there's so few that most recreation teams do not practice long course and don't want to swim long course in a meet because they're at a tremendous disadvantage. Because they can't practice long course. So, you know, until you get to some of the upper level swimming, there's not a lot of long course swimming going on.
And the Newington Swim Club uses the high school 25 yards, just like this pool would be.
In the winter.
Yeah.
And not in the summer.
And I have to disagree with you. It would not raise money for this town.
You don't think so?
I know it won't. It would be a cost. It would be a negative cost to us. We'd get killed by lifeguarding it.
In fact, if you look at Cheshire's pool, they built a 50-meter pool, and the only long course group that swims in it right now is the Polish national team. When they're swimming meets in North America, rent it out to use it. There's virtually no rec programming swimming long course. They built it for a lot of different reasons, but the long course lap lanes don't get a lot of use there.
Interesting. Okay, anybody else have any questions for Mike? We're good? All right.
Thanks so much.
That's out, running 2 minutes to spare.
But Mike, again, I appreciate it so much.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
my
much.
pleasure. Thank you. See you. Bye.
Okay. Highlight some of these. No, let's see all of these. All right. So. Yes, 6A. Well, plans for a comprehensive pool and splash pad project. You have some pictures for us that you could show us?
I do under C for review splash pad ideas for
Okay.
Vortex, but
Okay,
And let me explain for the people here that walked in later. We just got this about 45 minutes ago. Sam and I just got it emailed to us. The guy is he was under duress. It was Thursday, was a holiday. He was doing the best he can. I was on the phone with Canada and Brian, the salesman from Boston that represents Vortex in Emmy O'Brien and Sons. So these pictures are just for the group to get a feel for what a splash pad, what pieces you can buy. We can pick and choose whatever we want, whatever you think is nice. During the design feature that Mike was talking about, you would muddle through, do I like 3 buckets falling on my head? Do I like an arch? Do I like a rainbow? Do I like more spray parts from the floor? And all of them have a price to bear. And we tried to come up with ideas. So please don't take everything for exact, because this is a salesman and an owner of a company coming up with these ideas. Mike Fortuna did not flush through them yet. We just got them, and we certainly will do our due diligence. But I wanted you to, because I promised you I'd give you some pictures at least of what it was and some ballpark ideas of the cost. Now, to be fully transparent, this machine out here does not have any paper in it. We got it after 4:30. We called everywhere in the town hall to see if anybody was here to let us borrow paper, and there was nobody available. So, so Sam took pictures of the pricing from the emails, and I emailed them to all the board members and this committee. So you have them either on your phone or in your computers now, but this is the best we could do under the time
we
frame.
printed them out.
I printed them at home.
You did? Good.
Well, all I did was put the bottom line price.
Yes.
Yeah, I can put it on the screen here.
That's probably, I mean, yeah, I just.
So I have them on the one on the screen, the first one.
I would also suggest that anybody that has the time, take a ride, to see what South Windsor's features look like, or take a ride to see what Middletown's features looks like, or go over to see what New Britain's looks like. So if you haven't ever been to one, if you haven't seen what they look like, go on a hot day and take a peek, because it's pretty neat.
So if I may, I just explain, for those of you who don't know, a splash pad is computerized. So say there's 25 features and they're all different toys. You go up to a bollard and the kid hits it with his hand. It starts the computer. The computer has 8 to 12 cycles. So I can program it any way we want. So all of a sudden one toy turns on with water and all the kids run to one toy. Then that turns off, and over on the other side is another toy. but then there's one that turns on halfway through the 4-minute cycle. And so what it's doing is playing games with the kids, not knowing where it's gonna turn on and where it's not, or where they're gonna get shot at from the ground. And it's a pretty impressive thing, and like I said, you can make 8 to 12 different cycles, and you can turn it on, say you wanted this to work at 9 in the morning till 8:30 at night. You can program the computer to do that, so when the kid hits the ballot at 10 o'clock at night, it doesn't go on. So you have some controls over it. You also have, around it, we have, shade structures, which I strongly recommend for parents. That's the biggest complaint. They have to sit there for hours with their kids and they want to read a book or something while their kids are playing. Also, we instituted 8 park benches. The park benches are made by Demore. Demore is a company that has a plaque already built into the benches. So for $2,000, you can sell a sponsorship to 8 of the benches, and maybe that's something we could do in the future or as we go. We also put in 2 handicap accessible chess and checkerboards like you've seen at some of our new playgrounds. And we put in 2 picnic tables that are handicap accessible for kids that use wheelchairs or parents, adults, grandparents that use wheelchairs. So we have some features in there that are really nice for them to utilize as this experience of going to a splash pad.
One of the things that you really can't tell from this picture is there's designs like this around a lot of splash pads, and they just are fountains that come from the bottom. And you see a whole lot of kids trying to step on them to stop the water from coming up, or, they move one foot and they get it in their face or whatever. And they're not all this tall. Some of them are little tiny ones and some of them are big ones, but they're like, you'd see them probably because they're the cheapest things going. They're not.
They're only
there's no choice.
$1,000.
Yeah.
So they can
So-
be part of the feature.
It
Some features are
it's like-
40 and 60,000, just to give you an
Yeah.
idea. So it's from 1,000 to like 75,000 and everything in between.
So the first one up, Bill, that's the 902,000.
Okay.
I don't really know what the theme of that one is, but.
I found out today, there really aren't any themes.
No, just the shape is different.
It's, the shapes are all different in each one.
Yeah.
And they also, the UV that Mike talked about is not included in these prices. So he said, what did he say, $40,000 for UV
Yeah.
roughly?
We're
So
different.
we're in the neighborhood of 900 to $1 million. That kind of what we anticipated for each one. We might save a little bit of money at Mill because of the economy of scales, because the company's gonna be here already. And they could, have the bonding and the mobilization and all that will be included.
This one's kind of cool.
I like this one.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
this one too. Yeah. I like that.
They all have good features. It's like,
Yeah,
I like them all in different things,
Yeah.
each one.
I like this one that has an edge to sit
Yeah,
on too.
that was
That's
good
kinda
for the
good. That-
parents.
And it stops, you don't have to pay for benches. You got one built in.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's the 5.
Yeah, and the bucket on the head seems to be a big attraction.
big attraction, yeah.
They like that.
Do they have the 3 buckets? I can't see it. Is it?
There's-
This one has 2. It looks.
Two
Yeah,
buckets?
2 and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
a little other thing.
We put, in one of ours, I forgot which one, we put 3 buckets, it goes, shh, 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 and then and then the kids all scream, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
The 4th design has one very large bucket.
Okay,
3rd design doesn't.
No,
No,
looks like it's
No,
got
it looks
that,
like 2 small ones here.
Yeah.
the alien sprayer.
Two
that's what I
small
call that
buckets.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 small buckets here. Sorry, this is the first design.
Yeah, that one has, it appears, that's a bucket.
Sorry, this is not my friend right now. I'm sorry. That's the first one.
Can we stop on number 2?
That does not like that number 2.
Good meeting.
and just so you know, when we go through the design, you could add one from each, like if you
Yeah.
like one from one,
Things are-
you can
Don't
add,
like these.
yeah.
It's like a water gun.
Don't like these that look like, water guns shooting at each other. I think we could skip it. But, yeah, they're pretty cool.
When you say it's all fully computerized, say there's like a troubleshooting issue, is that then a parks issue or does it become an IT issue?
I think it'd be a parks issue.
Parks issue, okay, so then,
Like our pool mechanic would know how to do it,
okay.
yeah.
They
And
have-
Tom Lapierre is our pool mechanic, and he goes to the pools and splash pads, every day.
A lot of it can be done on your phone now too. Some of the issues that they have are done right on your phone, so somebody didn't have to come out every time there's a little problem, so I think that's pretty cool.
And-
That big flower that's on the right over there, the big green flower, is it concrete? Well, I don't know. Some of them have like big flowers, big wilty flowers that are bright colored and whatever, and they look really nice when you drive by them, when you're coming up to them, because they're very colorful and very attractive to little kids. They like them, they think they're cool. It's nice.
Now, what the salesman said is here is, I believe, and I can't tell, but he said, all you're gonna see is the Vortex stuff because Vortex provided this to us.
Mhm.
But you're also gonna see two giant 3-tiered shade structures too, that'll be multicolored.
Yeah.
And you'll see the picnic tables and the benches, and it'll all kind of come together in a nice playgroundish looking.
And does Vortex have to put up those shade structures or?
They don't.
They don't. Who does it?
They don't even sell them.
Oh.
Yeah, we would have, there's a shade structure company that we use, similar to, if you know the shade structure at the playground at Club Lemire,
Yeah.
kind of like that.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
big, giant,
Okay.
down in the ground, about 8 feet of big concrete, foundations,
Mhm.
because it's a wind load.
Cool. Very good. Okay. So that's our ideas for the splash pads for Vortex. It gives us some idea of what we're looking at. So our next, 6D is our total budget discussion. I don't know. Is this here? No.
I have, that's one of our earlier things we got.
Yeah, it's dated November 17th, 2023. It's a preliminary master plan, Mill Pond Park.
That was tense. Well, you have it in front of you.
Yes,
And that doesn't include Churchill, so,
correct.
so
The removal of the baseball field would be $34,000. I'm not really sure what that means.
It's taking down the big backstop, basically.
Plus $34,000 to take down a backstop.
Probably gonna have to pay for disposal,
Oh, got it.
heavy,
Okay,
and you have to dig out the bases that go down probably a certain amount of feet.
gotcha. Okay. And then, $251,000 for field sports rework. I think we talked about
That's what we
that.
talked about.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. And then the aquatics is, $7.5 million. A soft play area, which is an area for the preschool to play within the, pool area itself, attached to the pool area
it's next
itself.
to it,
It's,
right?
it's adjacent to it. We don't know how we're gonna exactly design the fencing, because during the summer, we don't care because we're not certified or we're not state licensed, but in the September to June, they have to be completely separated from the public. It's a safety feature that's by the state laws of the Department of Early Childhood.
Mhm,
So we have to figure out gating, that's all, but similar to what we have now.
mhm.
And it's 75 square feet per kid, 36 preschoolers, 3 to 5-year-olds, and that's how we came up with 2,700 square feet.
What is it now?
That's what it is.
That's what it
Yep.
is? Looks so tiny. Okay, and, AJ, you were asking about the demo of the old pool, and on here it's roughly $210,000.
I guess 225, not bad.
And then, soft costs are $1,424,492. With an owner's contingency of $9,771, more or less. Yeah, yeah, so that's where those monies, those all add up to, 10.6 plus $1 million for, a Churchill pool, a Churchill splash pad. Plus we have to add 5% for contingency, to increase the contingency by 5% of $1 million.
Well, did he say that that part of that was already in here? I thought he said that he had already accounted for the new contingency for the upcoming year.
He accounted for the 5% growth in cost. because the cost was set way back and each year was guessed that it was gonna grow at 5%. But the owner's contingency is actually 10%, my bad. The owner's contingency is 10% of,
A through N, right?
yes,
Yeah, so
So
I just
then-
assumed that would have automatically gone up to what it should have been.
right, but
Right.
if we increase that and put another $1 million in,
Then we have to
then
have,
we have to add, that 10%.
Right.
So,
For Churchill?
yes, for a Churchill splash pad, we would have to add in the contingency of another 10% of $1 million.
another million, or
Right.
1.1.
Yeah. Right,
Or you budget accordingly, you know, you open up the bids. It's not like it's a surprise anymore. Now we're not talking about the future. We're talking about bid prices very, in a short period of time, so you might not have, you might not need a whole 10% contingency at Churchill. Because you're gonna know your your underground stuff and things like that, but whatever, I think he said, you might not need the whole amount, is I think what he said, so maybe 5% instead of 10.
I thought he was talking about adjusting the figures because these were 2023 figures and we're going into 2024. So I assumed that needed a 5% yearly increase and he said, that was built in.
Yeah, I think because
So-
it was in November, so
Right,
he built
so-
them in for 24 already.
Right, so those figures would be the same, but if we add $1 million to the project, the owner's contingency of 10%, we probably have to go up. I don't know, but. Yeah, so that would be 1.1, which still leaves it us at 11.1. And anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, do we, to add the shade and the benches and all the other amenities that would be around the splash pad at Churchill, do you have a rough idea how much those would cost too?
I think we try to design it so it's $1 million for each one, so it'd be the same.
So it'd be, okay, so the million is encompassing.
Including-
Yeah, everything.
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Jim, you good?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the budget, I tried to make sure I got the document up. We do have shade structures under C in aquatics. So like there's 2 of them there. So does that include, is that just a pool area or is there gonna be
That's-
another?
That's at the pool, Jim.
Okay.
That would
So
be on
that
the
wouldn't be
grass,
at the,
that would be at the grass areas of the pool, so parents can shade themselves at the pool also.
but that wouldn't be at the splash pad at Mill.
No. Well, we're gonna have them in this $1 million budget. Is that what you're saying?
I think she was
Yeah.
asking.
I'm trying to figure out where they are.
There's shade structures at the pool at Mill, and now we're proposing 2 shade structures at the splash pad at Mill.
I think because 9 is splash pad and number 10 is shade structure, so it looks
Oh.
like on the aquatics list that the shade structures go with the splash pad.
I don't think so.
Is that right, Jim?
Yeah, so I see 2 shade structures under aquatics. So I wasn't sure if that's just the pool. Do we need to add another 2 for the splash pad as well, or 1?
That's correct. And the reason, Jim, you would do that for several reasons. One, you're gonna separate kids at a lot of times. And in the shoulder months, April to June, and then August or end of August to October, the pool's gonna be closed and people are gonna be using the splash pad, so they're gonna need shade also.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on board with the shade, having lived that with kids. I'm either
Okay,
in the water or I'm under the shade, hopefully.
there you go.
Gotcha. Good point.
But it just wasn't clear in C, I don't think.
Okay.
I got you. I agree. So for next week, I don't know who does this, but could someone, we have a list here, but it's phase 1 and phase 2 all pushed together in kind of a mess. Could someone come up with a list that we can present to the council of what our cost would be? Then, so we, to justify asking for $12 million?
The phase 2, I think, I'm not positive, but without looking at my machine,
Mhm.
phase 2 was the tennis courts, basketball, handicap accessible basketball,
Right, everything that we got from them, A is baseball field removal, then field sports, then aquatics, then soft play, then band shell, overlook pond access, concession building, court sports, you know, there's a whole lot in here. Soccer field improvements, that has nothing to do with us, picnic doesn't have to do with us, walking trails.
I think it's broken out.
It is, but it's just, it's like, in order to give someone a clear list rather than, you know, well, we only want to include A, B, and C. Could we just put it all on one page and have a one-page handout and say, this is what the cost is gonna be, rather than, you know,
Yeah, I think,
we have A, B, C, D, E, 1, N, and O.
yeah, I think we did that already for the council. Sam, if you wouldn't make a note, we have an executive summary from Mike. And it says phase one includes this, and here's the budget. We'll just have, I guess you don't have it in front of you. I'm gonna have to
I don't have it,
try to find it.
yeah, I don't have it. Yeah, I
I
have,
think that was given sometime.
probably before I have, I don't know.
Would those figures be accurate since they were given a little while ago?
I believe so.
Okay. All right, so we would need something that we could present to the council that's our wish list and, you know, to justify where this money is gonna go that we're asking for, so we don't just say, give me $20 million, you know,
Right.
we need something that's a little, you know, more, less scattered, so we can separate phase one, phase two, and, you know, move a little forward, a little quicker. Okay,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I'm on board with what you're saying. If we can get it broken down a little easier of what we're actually looking at. And I know we're throwing out like $12 million, but like, should we look through this list and like make some cutbacks, you know, or do we want to, I don't know if I want to go with 12 million when maybe we could save some money before we go, if we made a couple of adjustments.
Makes sense.
I'd rather go with the lower, I mean, I don't want to shortchange us, but I'd rather go with a lower number if we say, and we talked about like the concession stand or something. Well, do we want the concession stand there? We're gonna leave it as it is, like we didn't fully come up with a plan for that or think about it.
I don't think the removal of the concession stand was included in phase one of the project. Phase one is all that we can look at because our charge right now is just the pools. So, that would include removal of the bathhouse, but,
Well,
I
I
think-
guess
all of the concession stand is out of our purview as it's not part of the pool.
maybe to clarify, not the concession stand currently, not that one. We talked about adding a concession stand to the new bathhouse. So
Oh,
if we
sorry.
didn't add the concession stand to that bathhouse, would that number come down because maybe we keep the other one? You know, I just trying to think of
Let me
other
explain
ideas.
that to you. The concession stand is just a space. It has no equipment, nothing. So I would have to try to raise that money or go get it somewhere else. I would hate like heck. So far, just so you know, Mike and I over the last 5 years have dwindled the budget down as best we can already. So we had 2 diving boards, we went to 1. You know, we had a variety of space and we went smaller. So, and we fooled around with the decking and we fooled around with grass being cheaper than concrete. So we did a lot of this already. My experience here in 10 years is that please don't nickel and dime it, because if you do and you get stuck with a project that's not done, there's nowhere to go back to Newington and ask for more money. They don't have that. In my former jobs, it was easier to do that. It is not here. So I will be as specific as I can with this and label it all out. But I can tell you this, if we don't spend the money, if the bids come in lower, you know, God bless us, then we don't have to borrow all the money. And Janet Murphy will be keen on that. We get $12 million by the voters and we only need 11, so be it. That's what we'll do. But to start off with 11 and the bids come in higher, then you can't go back to the residents and ask them for more money. You can't go back to the council because they're mad. You know what I mean? The system here doesn't lend itself that way.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. I mean, the concession stand was just one example. I didn't I wasn't
I
sold
mean,
on
the
that one.
concession stand could
but-
be, $75,000 eventually of popcorn machines and hot dog cookers and slushy machines and all that. Nothing is included there.
Okay.
So that's, and then I'm trying to think if there's anything else that, yeah, there's not a lot of frills to this design.
Yep. Well, and I know we talked about like the water slide, the diving board, the climbing wall. I know we really want those, but do we need to have a discussion on that? Like, is there another way? Maybe we can get sponsorships or something like that for like the rock wall. I'm just trying to think a little bit outside the box of how do we get that number down a little bit? Not to say if we ask for 11 versus 12, that's going to completely change everyone's mind, but anything we can do to get the cost down and make it more appealing to more people.
Yeah, I guess I would beg you not to put me in the same position as the town hall. We know it's 34 million but we're gonna give you 28 million. Go ahead, build it. And then look at what we're doing now. It's hard. It's hard to do what you're saying. This is really tight. It's a tight budget. I think it would put us we'll look really bad if we can't finish the project.
Sandy?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Jim. Certainly, it's always appealing if we can try to come up with a few savings here and there, but I will say this. I've been watching this project for a long time, many, many years, as it has evolved, as some other people have too. And I know that this thing has been tightened up. And I would just echo what Bill said. If we can save money even with the 12 million, we can go out for sponsors even after it goes to bonding. In fact, I would recommend that we do that. I think we have a lot of great businesses in this town. There's a lot of things we could do. We have state grants we might be able to get, federal grants we might be able to get, where we might not even have to spend the whole 12 million. But I do know right now from everything I have seen in the past, I'm gonna say 4 to 5 years anyway, where I've really, these plans that have tightened up more and more. I would rather see us go for that 12 million and then give back money or not use the money.
Right.
Because what Bill said is true. I mean, it's once the town, no, I don't even want to talk about the town hall, but the point is that it's hard to go back. But whereas we know right now with the built-in contingencies, and again, we can get the detail. I feel like we did see that somewhere, but I don't know which pile I've got it in right now.
Right.
I just think that's the smarter thing to do right now. I really do.
And we still can go, Jim, we can go after the Senator Blumenthal and ask him for, and the other Senator, Chris Murphy. We can ask the state legislators, Gary. There was a time when Gary Turco was fully on board if the town committed some of the money, but we just couldn't get a commitment. So, I mean, there's ways that we might not have to bond the whole 12 million. We might be happy about what's going on. I think once it starts to develop excitement in imagination, I think you're going to get people jumping on board. I really do.
Jim, the pillars that are on the entryway to the boundless playground over there?
Yep,
They have
all the sponsors, all the names. Yep.
So that's always a possibility of something like that. I would also say when I went to visit South Windsor's splash pad, they had plaques on their individual, some of them, not all of them, the individual spray features like the big flower had a thing that said Rotary Club on the top of it. And, so there were split, different spray features that were sponsored by people. And, if some of them are $1,000 and some of them are $5,000, it gives somebody an option of what they can or cannot afford. So that's an option. I do understand what you're saying about cutting something because that was a discussion at the council meeting. I just don't know where it would be. I don't know where it would be other than the size of the splash pad. That's the only thing that I can think of that would be, shrinkable without, I I don't know what else.
And the park benches, like I mentioned, have plaques built into them, so I threw out a number of 2,000, but you could make it 5,000, you know. If people want to put their names on it and honor their families or a business or a civic group, you know, if there's 8 benches times $5,000 is 40,000, you know, it's not, again, you know, that's the thing about this job, when you're talking about $12 million, you cut the slide, I think off the top of my head, the slide was like 135,000. 135,000 in the scheme of things over 20 years, it's nothing. The diving board was like 75,000 or 25,000 and the rock wall was 75,000. It's not, you start to get into these things of you take away a bunch of fun and a bunch of attractions for middle school and high school kids, and then you're penny wise and pound foolish at times. But I understand what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. As a taxpayer, you always want to pay less. But on the other hand, you want to be proud of this committee has to walk away pretty darn proud and happy of what the finished product is.
Yep. Can I ask a couple more questions? Just on the sponsorships, that comes after, you know, if we do a referendum, we can do sponsorships after. That's how it normally would work,
Yes.
not before. Okay.
We don't have a project until we have some money.
Nobody wants to give like
Right.
the state legislature didn't want to give us money because they didn't think the town was behind it. So I think you got to commit. You got to say the whole town voted and they want it. And now let's go fundraise.
Yeah. And then Sandy mentioned grants. Do we have grants that we know of today that we could apply for or soon if we knew
No.
of them? Or
Have state legislators and federal legislators that have gone to in the past and has certainly helped us out in the past. And Bill was just Eileen referenced the playground, the accessible playground. If you go and look at the names on those, you'll see 3 of us that were in the legislature that did help with grants for that playground. So the thing is, there is definitely opportunities where we can get money from, at the very least, the state, and I'm sure the feds.
It's all in timing, you know, to be able to get on the appropriations list like quick and fast, so we're not at the bottom of the heap. We want to get on the top of the heap so that we get some of that money. And I know that as long as the council is behind us, Gary's behind us as well, so we should be okay. You know, we should be able to get some of that money from the state. And as far as the feds, well, we missed an opportunity this year. Hopefully something will come up again next year and we can go after that money, because that would be pretty darn exciting if that ever happened. I don't know what else. What else do you have for questions?
So I know there was potential to have close to $5 million from the state legislature. And I was trying to remember the referendum question for like Anna Reynolds. It kind of talked about, you know, the percentage difference with what the town would owe versus, you know, what the state would have. So like if we have a referendum question, is there a way to word it where it's contingent on that money, or we don't want to get involved in that?
Well, we wouldn't know, because we would have to apply for the grant first and get approval, and then we would know how much the difference would be. But in this case here, where we're doing it after the fact, we wouldn't have a figure, an accurate figure at least, to present to the public.
It wouldn't be legal. See, with the Board of Education, it's a state law that they have to give a percentage back. There's no
Right.
state law that says you have to give back to Parks and Recreation. So I think you'd have to be honest and transparent and say, we want the whole 12 million. And then after the fact, if you raise 2 million or 1 million or 3 million, whatever, you come out and make a big advertising thing and say, hey, you know, look at what happened. This is great.
Keep going.
No,
I see those-
I'm trying to think a little bit, you know, people see 12 million versus say 7 million is a big difference. You know, granted it's state money and it's, you know, our money, I understand, but you know, we also put our money into splash pads in other towns. So, you know, I just want to make sure we're showing the proper picture of what the town would owe, you know, and how do we show that we made you're saying a lot of these things like we've made cuts and whatnot. I just don't know that message has gotten out to people. You know,
I don't think
like,
a lot of our message has gotten out, and I think that's going to be our job moving forward, is to get the message out to the people, what this project looks like, what the benefits are of the project, what the cost rough guesstimate, this is all a conceptual idea, it's not cast in stone. So the concept would be what we would be selling to the people. The finished product isn't there, so the finished cost, we wouldn't know, we just wouldn't know
Yeah.
yet.
Like if a state legislator, if you put yourself in their shoes, they can go out and try to get $5 million for us, but what happens if the town doesn't buy into the project? They put up all their capital chips, to try to get us money, and then it blasts in their face. So that's why they're not gonna go in that direction. They're gonna wait until it's a commitment.
And that would be, so what is our opportunity would be the next big legislations? That would be next year, early next year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be next session. It could sometimes.
Well, it could even be,
It could be.
in December,
yeah,
if the referendum.
Yeah, you just never know what relationships and what votes are needed by the governor, say, for instance. I'm just giving a for instance.
or who wins, that's the other question,
Yeah,
who wins the election?
That's true
That's
too.
gonna be
There's a lot of
Yeah.
unknowns.
Yeah. I don't think we'll have.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I don't think that it would be proper to vote on a budget this evening without seeing that list put forward to say, this is our total cost, this is what we're giving to the town council. And we can talk about that on Thursday. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes,
sounds good.
okay. And then,
If you voted on it Thursday, that to present, ask the council to present that to the town attorney for a bond question? Is that what you're trying to do?
we would have to present it to the council. They would have to approve it before it would go to a bond question.
Okay, so AJ, if it's okay, can I ask you a question? Did I hear that you might cancel the next week's meet or 2 weeks from now's meeting?
No, not 2 weeks from now. They're talking about. Last night when we were talking, I don't know if they want to cancel both meetings in August or just one of them, but it's possibly 1 or 2 in August.
Okay,
But
so
not the 23rd. The 23rd is still on of this one.
okay, so how do we work through that system then? How does it?
At worst case, because I brought this in concern, we'll just have a special meeting. If we
Okay.
vote to get rid of the both August meetings and then something like this, something pressing comes up,
Yeah.
we'll just have a special meeting and it'll just be like any other normal council meeting.
Okay, so if we vote as a committee here to forward it on to the town council Thursday night, then you guys have a special meeting. Oh, no, you'll have the 23rd. You
Yeah.
could present it on the 23rd, and then you'd have to wait and have a public hearing and a vote some other time after that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so as long as before the 16th, when we go to agenda setting, we vote on it Thursday and we're confident about it, then we could get it to them when it do agenda setting, it should be fine for the
Okay.
23rd, yeah.
We're gonna have to go to new business and then old business, doesn't it? take
Yeah, we
a
wouldn't be able to vote on the 23rd if it's new business, we could always waive the rules if we absolutely needed to. But then worst case, like if we came to that, then we could I can caucus and we could have a discussion about holding a special meeting during the case if we need to.
Okay. So. 6E is timeline and dates for potential referendum. I have a question, I don't know,
Why did you say we couldn't make the regular ballot?
because the date already passed, when we had, well, it's not that we wouldn't make the regular ballot, it just wouldn't be a 1 ballot election, it would have to be 2 ballots.
But what was the date that we couldn't make? I thought we were still in it.
Wasn't it August?
August 5th was the
Yeah.
date that I thought the council had to vote on
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is weren't we, I thought I saw we were getting that. Did we actually get a timeline yet?
No,
James said he would send that, but he never.
He never
didn't send it.
Okay.
but he,
Lauren Ryan said it too.
it was,
Yeah.
But I think we're
in order
still,
to get it, I don't think so. According to him, in order to get it to the Secretary of State in time, that means it would have to have gone to the council. They would have had to have new business. They would have had to wait 2 weeks to have old business. It would have had to gone to bond council. You can't say when bond council is gonna get it back because it's summer. You have to have a public hearing and there just isn't enough time because we didn't get our charge as a committee soon enough to get all this done.
okay, so let me look at it a different way. If the council looks at it on the 23rd
Mhm.
and then plans a special meeting on Thursday, the 23rd,
24th, 25th of July. They have the public hearing at 6 and 7 o'clock, they have a quick, special meeting. Then you could get it to the bond council and you'd be in by August 5th. You could do it.
I don't think you can give somebody 2 days
I don't think.
notice for
Yeah, you
public,
need-
that would be.
But we need the timeline because I think, wasn't there something where it still could get on? What was it? There was separate
Because it would be
ballots?
2 ballots, you
It
would
would
have
be
to have.
two ballots or a separate.
But is part
Yeah.
of that predicated on the bond council getting their stuff done quick enough?
Yeah.
No, it was just because you needed time for old business, you needed time for new business, you needed time for a public hearing. You needed time to get to the Secretary of State. And I.
We
didn't
need
think
that timeline.
Yeah,
again.
I didn't think there were enough weeks, and when James was talking,
No,
our
I-
last meeting, he said no.
Yeah.
So it was a little tough to follow, I'll give you that, big time.
Yeah.
I gave up after about 4 days, I was like,
Tried to
no, I'll
focus
just
on that.
listen back again the next time.
I-
But, my question is,
Could you as a chairperson or AJ ask Lauren Rhines and James to do that?
Yeah,
I'm not in that.
I'll email them right now.
perhaps you could ask me this too, because I couldn't figure this out today. If we have a 2 ballot election, what happens with early voting and with, absentee ballots? Because early voting and absentee ballots is perhaps those, that referendum, because it's a standalone referendum. It's not included in that bill that went through.
No, but I
So
think, I
I
think
don't
we
know how it
checked the
works.
Secretary of State's office and I know the dates aren't affected by early voting. I know that.
Is it early voting less than 3 weeks before?
Yeah,
So,
14 days.
so
Yeah.
James said, just get it to him by 3 weeks, have it printed both sides, be at least 3 weeks before, and then you could. The way I understood it.
We don't have an ordinance in town that has set those rules up, you know what I mean? Other towns have gone forward and done this, but we don't have that ordinance yet, so I really was kind of unsure.
is
How
Danny
that
back
looks.
from vacation?
I think so.
Cause she was also supposed to be working on that with.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll see if I can catch up with her tomorrow.
Yeah, you might want to call
Or James, yeah, I'll look for it. So we'll work on that because I really don't know. So where to go from here is we're gonna get that 1 pager together. That's going to be a cost analysis of the project. We're gonna find out about the timeline for the voting and how that affects early voting and absentee voting. I don't know what happens there. Do you get 2 ballots when you apply for an absentee ballot? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how that works.
I don't know.
That would make more sense.
Yeah, I don't know how that all,
It probably would, they would have to be,
if I'm
absentee
ready.
ballots are usually available like a month ahead or
Yeah,
something
so
like
we
that.
have to be ready and I
Yeah.
don't know what happens and there's no guidelines in that we don't have an ordinance for that. So we need to find out what the rules are. I'm not 100% sure. So does anybody have anything else?
No.
Do you want the Parks and Rec Commission, they're gonna be meeting next Tuesday. Does it make sense for them to start their talking to people and getting the word out? Cause by then, let's see, the town council will have. No, they won't have,
They won't have it.
they won't have,
They're
Yeah.
meeting tomorrow, but they won't get it.
they won't get it, yeah.
And we aren't meeting till Thursday, so that would be before.
Right. So we should be able, right. Okay, so that's our business for Thursday.
If I could
yeah.
add, I
Go ahead.
think it would be a good idea to add like a line item, just because I'm anticipating that we're gonna have 2 new members coming
Yeah.
Thursday, so if you could add a line item to catch them up to speed.
Here's how you catch up to speed.
Yeah.
Watch me. There's only mention.
I know,
Yeah.
I was the former chairman.
yeah, I just feel like if we have it, if we could just give them our perspective on what we
Yes.
talked about, rather than let
That's
them
fine.
maybe watch.
Can we
the meeting.
make sure that they get sent everything we've received as soon as they're sworn in?
Yeah, so I just wanna make sure everyone's in the loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have all the
Yeah.
information.
But it's only 2 meetings. It's really not a
Yeah,
whole.
it shouldn't take a long time.
Yeah, so it should be okay. All right, that works out good. We'll have 2 more people. All right, so we're up to number 8, public participation. Anybody out there?
Did we have something for, before that?
We had
and then-
other pertinent business to the committee.
Wasn't that what Nancy sent out today, Bill?
Oh, I
yeah.
got that, yeah.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Thank you, Sam, for reminding me. I think we sent out,
I was able to get it in the PowerPoint just because of time.
Okay.
But we do have they received the packets with the diagrams.
all right, so,
That's,
so what we did was, we met this morning, John Vermiglietti is our aquatics director, and Nancy Glenn is our aquatic specialist, and myself, and we came up with, there was some question about, could we provide swim lessons for summer camp kids if we move Churchill Camp to here when the state laws, only if the state laws change, which we're anticipating by our legislators. We feel very confident as programmers to be able to schedule it. And we have like 3 or 4 maps in there to show you how many lifeguards we need, where we're gonna place them in the pool, what lessons we would be doing. And we came up with a couple ideas, some of which we are thinking outside the box. And one of them was, for 58 years, we've been starting swim lessons at 9 o'clock, but some people say at Churchill Pond it was earlier and it was colder, but I don't know. That might have been the chairman of the Parks and Rec Department, but anyway. So we had some ideas of moving, opening up at 8:30 in the morning. We also had some ideas about using it at 12 noon and stuff. So what I can tell you is our aquatic staff is confident that we would take we would have the ability to provide all the lessons needed plus extra. And we would probably add, the Churchill Pool only does 3 2-week sessions of swimming lessons. Here, we would provide 4 2-week sessions. So in fact, the fact of the matter is they may even get more lessons than they're used to. So just wanted to show you that in writing, give you the out, down and dirty on it. And we could certainly explain it at depth at a later time, but feel confident that we're good with that ability.
I like the graphs.
That's Nancy and John. They're young people. They're good with it.
Yeah, they would be.
Okay,
Thanks, Sam, for reminding me.
Yep.
right, so
It's been a
now,
whirlwind around here.
is Sally still there? Give her hand up?
No, she doesn't have her hand.
Okay, all right. Sally, raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, anybody in public participation?
Now I got stuff. Okay, Dana Havens, 113 Stoddard Avenue. Those videos you talked about, I'd like to see them too. So the drive-by on his, and where exactly are you putting the Churchill splash pad? Are you getting rid of the kiddie pool and putting it there? So once we have these cool 1,000 to 70,000 splash pad items, how are we gonna protect them from vandals when we can't even protect the playground equipment? Cause that's, that's a huge concern. Let's see. Oh, and then speaking of those videos and then obstructing the view, what about the shade structures? Are those gonna end up obstructing the view? And speaking as a parent who used the umbrellas tons and tons of time at Mill Pond Pool, us moms, we're kind of still the mean girl type thing. We click a lot. So, I kind of like the idea of Lake Compounds has, they call them, what do they call them? Like these little chickies. Yeah, they're umbrellas with like thatched roofs. So they're like
Chickies.
okay, chickies. So I don't know. I just think having several smaller things are better than like 2 giant ones where we all have to congregate and, talk about other people.
Likes chickies versus structures.
Yeah. And then I was taking some notes, so I kind of lost what you were saying about the swim lessons, adding swim lessons. And is that just for the campers or can residents take advantage of those extra swim lessons as well? Because I know I always had a hard time getting my kids in the times that I wanted. And that's it.
Okay. Next,
Rosines, 46 Elton Drive, and I've been watching this for a long time as well. And I'm still a little bit confused as how we went from the Mill Pond Pool Park Project Committee in March of 2023 and never going back to the town council. And you're referring to a November 2023 master plan or budget or something. Is that available somewhere? Because between March and November, until this past May, June, whatever it was that we came up with this committee, I don't know of any meetings, and you're talking about executive summaries. And last week, or the last time you met, I thought that there wasn't gonna be anything at Churchill, and now there's a splash pad. It could be me. I'm 79, I'm losing it. But I'm trying to keep track of what's going on, and there's big gaps in between. And the one thing I said to Eileen after the town council meeting is let's not have these side conversations where you're not sharing your thoughts with the people that are gonna vote on it. The town council has 9 votes, the last I knew. There's a lot of other people that are gonna be voting. And I, for one, after being fooled with the town hall, and I hate to keep going back to that, with the 28 million to this, to that, and they're not gonna go back, and now we're looking at OFI. And there was a lot of conversations going on about OFI, and people are still ticked off about that. So if you wanna try and promote this, we've got to be upfront about it. And have things on the town website and show them how to get to it, because God knows that town website was useless. And it's like old information, and I think, Eileen, you're absolutely right on target, where you've got to say, we want this, this, and this. I shouldn't have to be going and looking at what was presented 5-6 years ago to what was presented last March, that the town council said, we want to know this, this, and this. I know it's a new council, and they're more in line with what you want to do, but you know what you're doing, the town council knows what you're doing, but those other, I don't know how many voters there are, 20,000 voters need to know what you're doing. So that's it from me for now.
next in line,
Bill McCarthy, 206 Churchill Drive. Bill, you were talking about the swimming, I just thought about this when you were talking about the swimming lessons and stuff like that. Has the Parks and Rec people taken into consideration the new swim lesson place that's gonna be opening up on Payne Road? Is that gonna impact the town's ability to provide services, or do you think there's not gonna be a conflict with that? And then just for the overall project, I think the sooner that we get this up for referendum, the better, because if we wait and do 2 referendums, you're not gonna have enough turnout for the vote. That's it.
okay. Anybody online? Anybody
No
hand
hands up online.
One more, really.
One more.
Oh, John, sorry.
Oh, okay, John, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
That's Don Woods, 82 Ivy Lane. So I just want to say I'm glad that you're focusing on the charge that's in front of you and trying to be realistic on what can get accomplished and what can't get accomplished. I think we're in full agreement. I believe everybody is in full agreement that we want an aquatic center with a splash pad at Mill Pond, and we want a new splash pad at Churchill. And I believe that's the right direction. I believe both of those are strong selling points for this project, as long as it's explained properly. As far as the finances, having the pleasure of serving on the Town Hall Building Committee, I can tell you, if the $12 million is the number that you're shooting for, do not start fooling around and going with lesser amounts. It is going to be a disaster. It'll fall apart, because the 12 million, you are setting a cap. It can't exceed 12 million. So if the bids should come in at 12.6, now you got to do some cutting. But if they come in at 10.8 or 11.4, you've got plenty of room to finish the project, and you'll be a hero. You'll turn money back to the town. So I can't stress it enough. It was a very difficult charge to be on that committee. And it was nickel and dime from beginning to the end. It got done. I'm proud of the community center. There was a battle for that, but it came out the way it should have. Because we fought for it. This is your opportunity to fight for a project that the town deserves and needs. It's not a wish list. I don't know how many towns operate their whole aquatics program on 60, 65 or 70-year-old pools. It's time. And then again, on the size of the splash pad, someone said, I don't know who said it exactly, but we have one splash pad in Newington. West Hartford maybe has 6 splash pads, or New Haven, or, you know, we're gonna have one splash pad. Let's do it right.
Well, two, or do I have to?
Two, I'm sorry.
See, you
We are.
the project.
You just saved us $1 million.
Yeah, so again, build it to accommodate our needs.
All right.
Oh, I forgot a question. Can I have a reading?
Sure.
Dana Havens, 113 Stoddard. When this is all torn up, when the pool, when we're digging out for the new pool and taking it the backstop and all that, how's that gonna affect the extravaganza? Because that's where the rides are. And don't be taking away my craft fair. I'm there as soon as it opens. So what's gonna happen to all that?
We'll be able to work on it.
Okay.
And then
You can take the
Um,
rides out.
We have somebody there.
Sally has her hand up.
Hi, Sally. Go ahead.
Sally Larkins, 1531 Main Street. My only question is, if you're gonna send this to referendum, which it sounds like you're gonna do, is there gonna be some image of what things will look like? So people aren't just looking at numbers and words, but they have a picture that gives a presentation of what you think the end result will look like. But that's my question.
Okay. Answer's yes. Okay. All right, is that it for public participation?
Yeah.
All right, I will try to address some of these under counselor comments and, committee member comments, and if I forget anything, we'll work on it. We can work on getting those drive-by videos posted. That shouldn't be a hard thing to do. The location of the Churchill splash pad will be where the wading pool is, and if we need some extra room, it will spill around the corner. Protection from vandals. Over here, it's gonna be on a main drag, so hopefully we wouldn't have a problem. There's plenty of people and the police station is right there. I know it didn't stop a fire over there, but can only do what you can do, and hopefully we could have a camera or two and that would help.
Cameras.
Yeah.
Cameras.
Shade structures, obstruction of the view. Skin cancer, that's my answer. I think.
She's tough, man.
Yeah, that's my answer. Treatment, that's where I'm staying under that damn thing. I don't care. So that's it, and they're very pretty. I wouldn't see that they would be an obstruction. They're quite pretty. They're quite colorful. It adds to a more, welcoming, inviting, oh, look at the cute little kids playing youthful kind of thing. It's just, and it's good for the kids and it's good for the parents that are sitting there.
And if you place them sideways instead of this perpendicular to Garfield Street, you're gonna reduce them. And they're high up in the air.
Underneath.
And they're cheesecloth, you can see through.
The chickies at the pool as opposed to one giant one.
You know what? I
That's-
turn it off. The volume.
She's not listening, I'm trying to answer.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
We can't sit next to each other anymore.
Chickies at the pool as opposed to one giant one, that's something that we could look into. I think that there will be a different theme, so to speak, at Mill as there would be at Churchill, and maybe that would go more with like a beachy kind of theme that, we could pick some structures in the splash pad.
Well, they
that
don't
would
have to
fit
be
in.
thatched. I'm just saying
No,
more
but I think,
individual
that's what I'm saying.
picnic tables so that
Yes.
we could eat
Just-
without the ends.
Using that kind of, that chickies word as something that. Adding more swim lesson times, that would help with both the public and the camp.
It doesn't do anything.
Rose, we can get that 1123 budget posted again, that's not a problem. Pain Road lessons, did you ask about that?
No.
Those are an arm and a leg, they are not even close to, they're not affordable, they're very,
$1,000.
very, very expensive, very expensive. So I don't think that they're gonna give us a problem.
Different market.
Sally Larkin, what did you want? Oh, an image of the pool. Yes, that would certainly be made available. That would be also available online. I know that that website is horrid, but we will do our best to show how to navigate to it as quickly as possible. Our goal would be to have some pictures available even at the extravaganza, that maybe you could look at the extravaganza, so you'd have some idea of what this concept is. It's not going to be exact because it's a concept, but it would give you some idea of what the concept might be. The effect on the extravaganza, that's Bill to work out. I can't tell you, but I have full faith that it will be okay. It will be one season that will be a problem, but we'll get there. Well, I don't think it'll be a problem. People gotta be flexible for a year. You can't change everything overnight. Okay, anybody else have anything to say in terms of councilor comments, committee member comments?
No, I
know
everything.
Yeah.
I would like to say that we did speak about the splash pad at Churchill last meeting, briefly at the end, but we did acknowledge it at least. And then as far as the design comment goes, personally, I'd like to see a few different concept designs as opposed to just one. So that way at least we could paint a broader picture of what this possibly could be to the public instead of just, I feel like if we just show one, then people are gonna get the idea that that is the final product. So just to have variety would be nice.
Do you mean the two splash pads?
Or of the pool itself?
The splash pads and then maybe even like the layout for Mill Pond too. I think the more variety and concepts that we have that we could present as a possibility, like the more open the idea of people will be to, you know what I mean?
Might also cause massive confusion.
could cause.
Yeah, splash pads are gonna be different. In my mind, I would make them two different things, so that way people can go to both parks and enjoy a new experience. So that would be, they're not gonna be the same. Is that what you're asking?
No,
No.
I'm just saying in broad concepts, like whether,
Well, they've got what did we show, 5, Sam, today?
yeah, we have 5 different for the splash pads, but just like the overall design, like if we're gonna go to referendum saying we wanna create this new pool complex at Mill Pond. And if we just show them the one that has like the building adjacent to Garfield and the pools, people are just gonna, I would assume that they're just gonna think that that is the plan. And I know it's not we're not in design phase or anything like that, but just having multiple ideas of what it possibly could be, I think is a good idea.
Yeah, I guess when you go to referendum for a school or for John Wallace or Anna Reynolds, they go for the idea, the conceptual idea, and then after it gets approved, they know how much money, then they design it and show people what it is. But I guess, yeah, we can give you ideas of what it's, potential, what it's gonna be.
Can I say something? Wouldn't that be like a public hearing? You could have that as a slide presentation.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah, just to be like, this is possibility 1, possibility 2.
And there is the, right.
Okay,
James has his hand up.
okay. Hello,
Hey, so on the website, is it possible to have like a separate page for this whole project? Kind of like, I know for like OFI, they had a whole bunch of information when it was easier to navigate to when it was one separate page. Is that something we could do?
I think, I can't answer for IT, but I can provide them the information.
Should be able to be done.
yes.
Yeah, the answer
It's just so-
Logical question.
The answer is,
Yes.
yes, it should be done. Yes.
Okay, it's just so hard to navigate on the website. So if we can make it easier, it's just, that's what I'm going for.
We can't do it, us, Parks and Rec. We can't.
Yeah, somebody else
I
can do
could
it.
provide the information.
Reasonable, very reasonable.
Yeah.
Anything else, Jim?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Anybody else? We're good? Going once, going twice. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second,
Sorry.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're good. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.